As for the introduction, according to Land et al. 2015, oil is a fossil fuel that has been around for a long time, and when it unintentionally spills into the ocean, it may do significant damage. Light oil and heavy oils are two distinct categories of oils. Light oils such as gasoline or diesel fuel evaporate fast and do not persist in the environment for a long time, but they are more harmful. On the other hand, heavy oils have a great ability to linger in the environment for a long period of time but nevertheless are less harmful. Many oil spills happen in water every year. These incidents typically occur when pipelines rupture, large oil tanker ships sink, or a drilling operation is wrong. A large oil spill can have long-term effects on the ecosystem and economics, and these effects can last for years.
Hi everyone, I will be presenting case study 1, a case study of the Swiss Gulf modeling of the oil spill behavior in the marine environment. So, what is the modeling of oil spill from oil drilling leak? So, oil drilling leak use SL Rose oil spill prediction model, which are licensed in Canada, which are successfully used as a response and decision support tool to investigate the oil spill trajectory, beaching of oil, and its fate. So let's move forward to the oil spill trajectories result. A total of 24 oil spill trajectory maps were created, and as a result, the oil spill trajectories varied not only in a quantity and direction, but also in the time it took for the oil to connect with the shoreline. So based on the table, for the worst case scenarios reveals the diverse wind direction which have resulted in varying oil spill motion and magnitudes. So based on this table, some of the oil spill path intersected with the beach at various times. So this is the total area of the slick result. Once the oil was exposed to the marine environment, it began to spread out over the sea surface, which conclude the more severe the climatic circumstances, the faster the oil will spread. In the usual cases, the spreading rate was extremely sluggish. For the volume of the slick, the rate and the volume of evaporation were mostly determined by the oil volatility. For evaporation percentage of the slick, due to the increased exposed surface area of the oil slick, evaporation increased as the oil spread. Rougher sea, higher wind speed, and higher temperature all tended to accelerate evaporation and increase the amount of oil lost. Dispersion rate of the slick. Waves and turbulence on the sea surface can break up a slick into pieces and droplets of varied size, causing all or part of it to break apart. The composition of the oil and the state of the sea were both important factors in oil dispersal. So let's move forward to the result of the emulsion water content. Water content of emulsion as the oil was introduced to the sea environment because of the worst meteorological climatic circumstances, its viscosity grew with time. Emulsion development happened over time as the water content in the oil slick increased, resulting in an increase in the slick emulsion viscosity. So, as a conclusion, according to the result that were obtained from the oil spill modeling, the repercussion of a maritime oil leak might be avoided or limited by following the recommended preventative and remedial activities. Oil spill modeling techniques are frequently used in contingency planning, exercise development, and incident response to anticipate the surface flow and destiny of spilled oil. And as a result, these technologies can assist decision makers in determining the best course of action in the event of a spillage.
Case study 2 is oil spill in South Atlantic, which is Brazil. Dense crude oil was found contaminated along the beach of Brazil tropical coast in the beginning of September 2019. The contamination has spread along the Brazilian coastline and beach, that making this oil spill is the worst ever recorded in Brazilian history. This disaster is more difficult to manage than a regular oil spill because the dense crude oil is not visible on the ocean surface. Hence, it only shows when it washes up on coastal zones such as sandy beach and intertidal reefs. Furthermore, due to region's water circulation, the spread of the oil reached a continental scale along the Brazilian coastline, as shown in the figure above. The oil was most likely released into the South Equatorial Current or at its bifurcation, where it was then moved north and south by the western boundary currents. The North Brazil Current, which moved northwest, took the oil north and then west along the continental slope to Maranhão waters. The Brazil Current, which flows southwestward and transports oil southward from the release region through the continental slope and into the ocean off the coast of Rio de Janeiro, as shown in the figure above. There have been few major problems that can be detected according to the journal published. The first problem is the lack of awareness by the federal government regarding how to handle this matter efficiently. The second issue is regarding the oil spill itself, that the unidentified source of the spillage. As the matter prolonged, other problems such as depopulation of aquatic life will be threatened, as well as causing impact to local economy. The Brazil current flow also one of the root cause for the contaminated area to spread.
In this session, I will show the background of the Gulf War oil spill. This was a conflict between Iraq and a coalition of nations led by US. The Iraq invasion and subjugation of Kuwait on 2nd August 1990 triggered the conflict. This accident, the shoreline of Abu Ali Island in the Western Arabia Gulf, was contaminated with a massive oil spill around 10.8 million barrels when it was planned by forced Iraqi to last ditch for block US force from landing on the beach of Kuwait. But before this happened, spill oil has occurred because of the industrially or minor unintentional release. The first occurred during the Iraqi-Irani war in 1982 until 1983 as a result of damage to the Norris oil field, which caused an estimated million barrels of oil to flow into the Gulf. The second tragedy was Iraqi troops deliberately releasing barrels of oil in the Gulf in 1991. It's like the recovery and clean-up after the Gulf War oil spill. This accident was costly around 700 million USD to clean up all the oil because it was affected around 50 million tons of oil. 95% of oil are removed and recovery, but the leftover oil was from large oil lakes as deep as 2 meters. The clean-up technique was used is biodegradation, mechanical such as oleophilic schema, suction schema, and wear schema, and chemical remediation. In this slide is the impact of oil spill towards the environment. Oil spill were from petroleum such as gasoline, heavy oil, petrol, kerosene, diesel, lubricating oil, cutting liquid were done intentionally or unintentionally, which is contain a complex combination of hundreds of hydrocarbons including variable proportion of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, and metal that can affect the environment. To marine ecology such as from study of Kaliorikova found that incident oil spill will occur in 25 July 2020, the Mauritius disaster when Japanese on MV Wakashio struck aground on the coast of Mauritius on its transit from China to Brazil was affected the life coral reef because oil spill very near to it. Next, tourism. Tourism is obviously important for coastal communities such as provide a variety of recreational activity like fishing, beach activity, and food sell to tourists. For the study, Nelson found the activity fishing after Gulf of Mexico needs to close the pace of fishing activity. For the health, the combustible product in petroleum such as petroleum hydrocarbon, volatile organic compound, and polyaromatic hydrocarbon can cause effects to human health such as asthma, immune effects, reproductive inflammation, irritation, dizziness, headache, cardiovascular disorder, and development deformities, which category into short-term or long-term effects.
Accidents involve tankers, bangers, pipelines, refineries, drilling rigs, and store facilities are the most common causes of air spills in river, bays, and the ocean. Spills can occur as a result of equipment failure and human error. It also caused by natural disaster as well as terrorist attack, acts of war, vandalism, or illegal dumping. Tonight, our speed case study reported that accident on 2017 was caused mainly by human error and tiredness among the crew. Two ships collide off the coast of India as both failed to keep a devoted solo visual watch. In 2019, Mystery Brazil oil slick caused pollution at the coastline area. Brazilian authorities named the Greek oil tanker, which is owned by the Delta tanker firm, is also based on Greece as the possible suspect. However, Delta tankers deny all the possibilities for the environmental disaster at the time. Gulf War, held on 1990, caused the biggest oil spill in the world. It was the first significant international crisis of the post-Cold War era, and the American reaction would set key precedents for the use of military force. Iraqi soldiers had opened oil valve on the Sea Island pipeline in a desperate military action, unleashing oil from multiple ships to prevent from US military to beach landings.
Moving on to control measure, we know intervention and restoration, regardless of the efficiency, are costly and difficult. Hence, prevention and disaster preparedness are always preferred. For example, the cost of clearing up after the 1990 Gulf War is estimated to be around USD 700 million. And thus, for addressing oil spills, there are variety of remediation and cleanup process available, the effectiveness of which is governed by a number of criteria such as degree of pollution, existing condition, resource availability, and the sensitivity of the area. And we know natural biodegradation, mechanical recovery, and chemical treatment are the three kinds of management approaches. Firstly, natural biodegradation. Taking no action in some situation may be the most practicable and practical option to cope with the oil leak. For example, after the Gulf War, some areas were left untreated, and this proved to be beneficial over time as a long stretch of algae developed on the oil layers, allowing organotropic and cyanobacteria to use crude oil as a carbon and energy source. The effectiveness and usefulness of this strategy, on the other hand, is greatly dependent on a number of parameters, including the extent of pollution, the size of area affected, and its environmental sensitivity, climatic circumstance, and the overall water quality. Second, through mechanical recovery of oil, mechanical recovery is one of the most common and successful ways of dealing with oil spills. Because of their various possible design dealing with various level of operation, environmental circumstances, and oil kinds, it is one of the most commonly utilized ways by government worldwide for cleaning up oil spills on various scales. Different kinds of schemes can be used to separate oil from the water mechanically. Last but not least, chemical remediation. The goal of a chemical response to an oil spill is to chemically disperse the oil from sensitive regions or collect it in a thicker concentration. As a result, chemical treatment procedures are always used in conjunction with mechanical removal technique.
As conclusion, a major oil spill can have long-term effect on environment and economy that can persist for years. Oil typically spreads fast across the surface of the water, generating a thin oil slick. Natural disaster, act of war, and illegal dumping all contribute to oil spills.